Hi, welcome back for another 7 Caillou challenge. Before we get into it, I wanted to point out that I'm recording from a different computer. I got a MacBook recently and the screen resolution's a lot better, so I thought maybe I would switch to this. Please let me know in the comments if this is better or if it's not a big deal, if you don't care either way. The other big catch is that I'm not using my normal Snowball microphone. I'm using the built-in one with the Mac. I can't plug in because as nice as this computer is, it doesn't have a USB port. I guess Apple made a money grab. I'm not that familiar with Mac. This is my first MacBook, but it's frustrating because I can't plug my mic in. But hopefully, maybe the one built into this is nice and I can get away with that. If not, it sounds like I can get a converter cable and I will go back to my normal microphone. But yeah, you can tell me if you like the visual quality and not the audio, or any combination of those. That'd be very helpful. So with that said, what do you say we get into the challenge? This one's called Count Consonants. Pretty straightforward here. Write a function that takes a string of English language text and returns the number of consonants in the string. Consonants are all letters used to write English except the vowels. And you'll note that Y isn't listed. Sometimes that's considered a vowel in the English language. They keep things simple here, where you just have to worry about A, E, I, O, and U. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try this one out. I'm going to go through some solutions kind of the normal way. I'm going to use the basic building blocks. Then we'll expand that to use some LINQ statements to see how we can make our code more concise, more readable, but ultimately you're the judge of that. They're all fine solutions. And so the other thing I should point out too with this new MacBook is that I'm bad with the controls with Mac. So if I'm jumping around and if I make some mistakes there and mess up the screen, forgive me, I'll pick it up soon enough. Anyways, let's do the basic solution first. So if you wanted to count consonants, you could set up a counter like this, just in count equals 0. And then you can imagine you're going to iterate over all the characters in the input text. And so what you want to do then is make sure that you're not dealing with a vowel. And also it should be noted, let's look down at the test cases here. You notice that they'll put punctuation, dollar signs, spaces, so it's a little more involved than, you can't just assume that it's going to be all alphabetic input. You're going to have any kind of character coming through, so we've got to handle that as well. So one thing we can do to set this up is you could make a char array, call it vowels, and you could initialize it with those values, A, E, I, O, and U. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert the input string into lowercase letters. If you don't want to do that, you could basically duplicate everything in here and also list the uppercase values as well. And then you can imagine when we're checking each letter, we're going to do a check into this collection to see if it's contained. And if it is, we're going to say, hey, that's a vowel, don't include it in our count. And later I'll upgrade this to a list. I like list better because it has a contains method, but we'll start basic with just the array and the loop and build from there. So we had a challenge come up recently where we learned how to check if something is a letter. So that's first and foremost, right? We got to make sure we're dealing with a letter first. And so we could say if char, I like to capitalize it when I access the class name. Remember the isLetter function, and then we can pass it in, and that'll return true if we're dealing with a letter and false otherwise. And so good, we passed the first part. We're making sure, assuming it's true, that we're dealing with a letter, and then if it is a letter, let's make sure it's not a vowel. So how would we say that in the speak of an array? Well, if you open up the array class, you can expand its methods and scroll through these. You will find one, at least I used index of, and if you want to look at that, but the main takeaway is that it will return the lower bound of the array -1, like -1. So I call find index, and let me show you the example because the way the method is invoked. You're using the name of the class array dot index of, then you pass your collection, and then what you want to search for. There's a few overloads I'm not going to use. I'm just checking for the value. That's all we need to do. I'm just going to see if the letter is contained in the character array. So let's do something like that. I'll go back to Code Wars. So we can say array, it's called index of, and we give it the collection vowels and then the character we're looking for, which is CH. And then index vowels, we want this to return -1 to mean it's a consonant. So we should say that this, if it is a letter and it returns -1, meaning the character was not found in vowels, then we want to bump our count, right? So let's see, where's gotta make sure my parentheses are right here. I think they are. And I'll just say increment the count. And then finally, when you're done, you just simply return. This will only count consonants. Hopefully that's clear. Make sure it's a letter first and then not a vowel. And there's one thing I overlooked here, but we'll run the test. It's good to run into these problems, like you'll encounter them. Okay, I passed the simple tests. I passed all the tests. I'm a little confused because I thought some of the capital letters would did they not do any tests with, here's one with a capital B, and I didn't put B. Okay. Well, I'll move on. The other way I handled this, let's see if it comes up in the LINQ solution. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in LINQ using system LINQ, and I'm also going to bring in using system collections.generic, which contains the list class. So I liked how it read better, even though I don't technically need a list here. So you could say list char. I'll call this vowels, and then we'll just get rid of that. I won't make you endure me typing this all out again, especially in new Mac land for me. I can say new list of char, paste that, and then this syntax changes from, oh wow, wow, I'm fancy. See all those emojis I had? Okay, anyways, and then you can say something like this, not vowel contains CH. And if you go to the list class, expand its methods, and you'll see it has this contains method, and it reads a little nicer. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to do the array approach or the list approach. I don't think there's much to say there. As usual, you can read all you want. And then, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Let's see if I typed this right. Name, sure, I said vowel and not, oh no, don't do that. Vowels. Control Z is your friend, or in my land now, Command Z. Okay, so good, yeah. So now it's a matter of, you learned, hey, there's two different collection types. I could have put these vowels in. The list was probably more complicated. The array is pretty simple. Leave it up to you. I like how this reads. Anyways, we can take it a step further now. If you want to see the LINQ stuff, we can kind of compact this all into one line. So to do that, oops, comment out. Notice the multi-line comments. You start with a /* and end in a */ kind of reverse order. And you can quickly comment out multi-line. That's nicer than doing double / on every line, in case you didn't know that. So let's do some LINQ. How should we do this first? We could say something like this, return string. And then do you remember how we've used where with LINQ? We remember that as a filter, so we can filter things out. And it's basically going to be the same condition. In fact, I'm still going to need the collection, so let's keep that part. Comment the rest out. So let's say letter where, and I'll copy this. Let's see if I can get this right. Copy, put that in for our condition. CH, remember we're going to put a lambda in here. So I put my parameter name, since string is a collection of characters, I like to call it character variable CH. And then I'm using the same condition I used before. Make sure it's a letter and it's not a vowel. And then since we're returning the count of these things, we know that the enumerable collections have a count property or a count method that you can call on them. That's a method, not a property, denoted by the parentheses there. So something like this should work. Okay, passed all the tests, good. Again, I really thought I was going to get in trouble with casing here. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't, but that's okay. I won't complain. And then, yeah, so this was one way to do it. And even within LINQ, you've probably noticed or seen, if you've been watching my videos, there's even lots of ways you can do it within the LINQ universe. So we could say even return string aggregate. And if you remember aggregate here, let's go back. It's kind of like a, you can think of it like adding, but it's more general than that. So you could do products with it, or however you want to sort of accumulate data. And we're going to use, let's see, there's a simple integer example here. This is a good one right here. So you give it a seed value with this overload, 0 for us. We started our count at 0. You provide two parameters. One variable is the running total, so it'll start at 0, whatever you tell it to seed with. And then the next is the usual kind of parameter. It represents each element in the ints collection. And then you give it your logic. They're saying if it's even, increment the total. Otherwise, it probably says to do nothing. I can't see the rest of that. Yeah, do nothing with total. Total stays the same. So we can use something like this too, just so you can see another way of doing it. So aggregate, I'll start at 0. I'll call our running total. We called it count before. You can call it total, or if you want, you can call it count. And then we had a second parameter. We also need a parameter to represent each character, right? So let's include that, ch. Then we go into our logic and we'll say count. Let's see, how do we want to do this? We can increment the count if our conditions met. So I'll say count plus equals, and then we can grab this condition again. I'll paste that in, and I'm going to use the ternary operator because this condition is going to be either true or false. These are both Booleans, right? Whether it's a letter or not is a Boolean, true or false, and whether the vowels contains the letter is a true or false. And if my condition is true, it means it's a consonant. I'll add, excuse me, I'll add 1. Otherwise, I don't have to add anything. So I would think something like this would work. We're running out of real estate there. Let me hit the test. Pass. Pass. Okay. Yeah, again, it was weird. When I like to breeze through these kind of quick sometimes, just take a quick look to make sure I don't make any mistakes, obvious stuff. And I swear when I went through this, I was getting invalid results because of uppercase letters. And if you were experiencing that the way I got around it when I tried this the first time, I just used the string class has a toLower method that you can use. And that way, when all the letters are converted to lowercase, I only need, this set is sufficient. It covers everything that I need. And I would expect to get the same results this way, but if I don't need it, I'll remove it. You know what, in fact, I might leave it. So I'll go ahead and remove the rest of my logic here that I don't need. Leave it up to you to decide which solution you like the best. Okay, I think I got it. Running off the screen there. And that should do it. Yeah, I'll go ahead. They're going to make me attempt again. Now, if you didn't want this vowels collection, you could have had a bunch of cases like if letter is not equal to A and and letters not, and characters not equal to E, and it's not equal to I and not equal to O, but that'd be pretty ugly. So I'll go ahead and submit. Grab those points. Here you go. This is nice with the regular expressions. And you know what to do. Go ahead and look through these solutions, see what you can gather from other users. Otherwise, I'd really appreciate it if you could especially leave me feedback on the new recording format, whether this is good quality, better quality, worse, or about the same, and it doesn't really matter to you where I record from. Other than that, you know where to find me with questions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.